One day, my daughter Natalie came to me and said, "Dad, how was I born?" I'm like everybody else, but she goes, "No. Everybody talks about the crazy things that happened when I was a baby." I go, "Oh, you mean what happened after you were born?" Okay. The day you were born, your mother needed to have a cesarean section. Standard procedure. The doctor pulled you out, cut the cord, set you on mom's, stomach, and you were born. But then you jumped up and you ran for the door. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, there's newborn babies running for the door. And I was right on your heels. And of course her eyes roll over and goes, and you were starting to get away from me when luckily Grandpa got off the elevator and you stopped, looked at him, and swept his legs out from underneath him and dropped him right on his back hard. Well, he had jerky in his pocket. He always had jerky with him. And he pulled out his jerky and we're sitting there eating. And I was able to get a towel around you because you were slick as a greased pig. Threw the towel around you, picked you up, and I had you. And you were fine, now that you had jerky. You were hungry. And we got you back in the nursery and we checked you out and everything was fine. And we got you home and everything was wonderful. We thought. Dad, she said to me, come on, what really happened? No, okay. So you were home and you would disappear for days on end. And you'd be running around in the neighborhood. And somehow you'd fashioned a spear. And you would raid everybody's gardens. And everybody was just scared to death of you because, Mrs. Jensen, who lived 2 doors down, had a great garden. You'd go into her garden and eat your fill. And one day she came out, she says, "You get out of my garden." And you threw the spear at her, just barely missing her head. And it stuck in her back door. And you let a war whoop and over the fence you went. And of course she's going, "Dad, that didn't happen." I'm like, "Baby, yeah, you were all over the place." We'd go out and look at you and we'd see you swinging through the trees. Of course, on that street where we used to live, there was trees all up and down the street. And you lived in the trees. You were like a little Tarzan baby. And you'd only answer to the name Kathwaka. Of course, that's the only sound you'd make. You wouldn't cry, you wouldn't, you'd go, "Kathwaka!" And if you would throw things at people who were trying to come by or would try to get up the tree to get you. And it was kind of a scary time. Because all the buffalo in the neighborhood started going missing.
Okay, so I know I promised to try and be quiet.
Uh-huh.
The fireman that used to rescue kittens from trees failed at rescuing Kathwaka.
Oh, he tried.
He failed.
Well, they had the ladder truck, and he's climbing up the ladder truck. She hits him right in the chest, both feet. Bam! He goes tumbling back down the ladder, and she's like, "Kathwaka!" And boom, she's like 5 trees away.
So he failed.
Oh, yeah. And he had to retire after that with, what's his name? My cousin Rob, who was with the fire department. He just warned them all away. He says, "Okay, she's okay. Leave her alone." There's nothing we could do. You were like a wild animal running through the neighborhood. Animal control kept trying to catch you.
Maybe.
And they failed. And to their never-ending suffering, they would get out of their truck and start looking for you. They'd come back and their tires were slashed. Because you had taken a chunk of stone and flint-knapped a knife and punctured their tires. And my daughter, of course, is going, Dad, no, what really happened, Dad? I'm like, no, really. That's really what happened. And like I said, the buffalo started going missing. She goes, Dad, there's no buffalo in the city. Yeah, thanks to you. And I go, you don't believe me? Go ask your mother. And she goes, oh, I will. And she went in the house. And I look across the street, and from behind a tree, there was a buffalo. And he peeked out, and I go, coast is clear, go. And he took off running. There was a buffalo behind every tree, just waiting for her to look away. She must have ate 30 buffalo that first year, that first summer. And I'm going to save what happened her second year. Well, her second, third year for another video. But it was a trying time having a wild child as a daughter. So that's my story of Natalie's first year. And I call that story Dad, because that's the sound she made like 5 times while I was telling her the story. But it's a true story. We'll tell you about the second and third year on the next video. Bye.